Welcome to Animated World Channel.
Bedtime Stories Part 1.
The Magical School Bus. Once upon a time, in a colourful little town named Brightville, summer was coming to an end. The days had been filled with sunshine, swimming, and ice cream, but now the leaves on the trees were starting to turn golden, and the air was just a bit cooler. It was almost time for school to start again. In a cosy house at the edge of town lived a brother and sister, Max and Mia. Max was 8 years old, full of energy and excitement, while Mia was 6, curious and always ready for an adventure. They loved summer, but they were also a little nervous about going back to school. One evening, as they were getting ready for bed, their mum said with a twinkle in her eye,
"Tomorrow morning, you'll be riding a very special bus to school. It's not like any other bus you've ever seen before."
Max and Mia were intrigued.
"What's so special about this bus, Mum?"
Max asked.
"You'll see,"
she replied with a mysterious smile. The next morning, Max and Mia stood at the bus stop with their backpacks, eagerly waiting. Suddenly, they heard a soft humming sound, and around the corner came the most amazing bus they had ever seen. It was bright blue, with rainbow-coloured wheels and shiny, star-shaped lights along the sides. The bus driver was a cheerful, little elf named Mr. Sparkles, who had a long, curly beard and a hat that changed colours every few seconds.
"Welcome aboard the magical school bus.
Mr. Sparkles announced as the doors swung open.
Today, we're going on an adventure before school starts."
And Max and Mia climbed aboard, their eyes wide with wonder. The inside of the bus was even more incredible. The seats were made of fluffy clouds, and there were twinkling lights hanging from the ceiling like stars in the night sky. There were other children on the bus too, all looking just as amazed as Max and Mia.
"Where are we going?"
Mia asked, her voice full of excitement.
"You'll see, my dear. Just hold on tight."
With a wave of his hand, the bus lifted off the ground and flew into the sky. The children gasped as they looked out the windows and saw the town of Brightville shrinking below them. The bus soared over forests, lakes, and mountains until it reached a place that looked like a giant playground in the clouds.
"Welcome to the land of learning."
Mr. Sparkles announced as the bus gently landed.
"Here, you'll discover that going back to school is the start of a wonderful new adventure."
The children stepped off the bus and found themselves in a magical world filled with amazing things to see and do. There was a giant library tree with books that flew around like birds, a math maze where the walls changed with each correct answer, and a science pond where they could mix potions to create rainbow bubbles. Max and Mia raced from one activity to the next, laughing and learning along the way. They played with alphabet puzzles that glowed when they spelled words, solved riddles with talking animals, and even met a wise old owl who taught them the secrets of reading maps and discovering new places. As they explored, Max and Mia realized that school wasn't just about sitting in a classroom. It was about discovering new things, asking questions and finding answers. They could be explorers, inventors, and even heroes in their own stories. After what felt like hours of fun, Mr. Sparkles called them back to the bus.
"It's time to head to school,"
he said with a smile. As the bus flew back to Brightville, Max and Mia talked excitedly about all the things they were going to do and learn when school started. They weren't nervous anymore, they were ready for the adventure. When the bus landed at their school, Mr. Sparkles waved goodbye, he said with a twinkle in his eye.
"And remember, the magic of learning is always with you."
Max and Mia walked into school hand in hand, their hearts full of excitement for the new school year. They knew that, with a little imagination and a lot of curiosity, school would be an adventure they'd never forget. And from that day on, every time they saw the school bus, they couldn't help but smile, knowing that they were about to embark on another magical day of learning. Ugly Duckling. Once upon a time, in a quiet pond with tall plants and pretty flowers around it, a mother duck waited excitedly for her eggs to hatch. Finally, the day came when one egg cracked open and out came a tiny greyish duckling. Even though the mother duck loved all her babies, she noticed that this little one looked different from the rest.
My dear, you may not be as pretty as your siblings, but you are just as special,
she said, giving the duckling lots of love. But as the days passed, the little duckling noticed that the other ducklings made fun of him because he looked different. Feeling sad and alone, he decided to leave the pond and find a place where he could belong. He travelled through fields and woods, hoping to find friends who would accept him for who he was. Along the way, he met other animals who wondered about his different look.
You don't look like us,
said the rabbits.
Why are you so grey?
Asked the bluebirds. The little duckling felt sad with every question, but he kept going, hoping to find his real home. As autumn came, he found a beautiful lake shining in the sunlight. There, he saw a group of beautiful swans swimming on the water, their wings shining like silver. Enchanted by their beauty, the little duckling went to them. But as he got closer, he was unsure, remembering how he had been treated before. He was afraid the swans would not want him too. To his surprise, the swans welcomed him.
Hello there, little friend. You are welcome to join us,
said the kindest swan.
But I'm not beautiful like you. I'm just an ugly duckling,
he said with a bit of sadness. The kind swan smiled.
You may think that now, but beauty is not just about looks. It's about being kind, brave, and true to yourself. Come, let us be friends.
With new hope and happiness, the little duckling joined his new friends. As time passed, he felt a feeling of fitting in he had never felt before. He swam with the swans, played games, and laughed under the moon. One morning, as he looked at his reflection in the lake, he saw a beautiful creature staring back at him. His once dull feathers had turned white, and he realized that he had grown into a beautiful swan, just like his new friends. From that day on, the little duckling was no longer the ugly duckling. He had become a brave and graceful swan, ready to face any challenge that came his way. And he knew that true beauty was inside. Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood lived in a wood with her mother. One day, Little Red Riding Hood went to visit her granny. She had a nice cake in her basket. On her way, Little Red Riding Hood met a wolf.
Hello. Where are you going?
Said the wolf. I'm going to see my grandmother. She lives in a house behind those trees. The wolf ran to Granny's house and ate Granny up. He got into Granny's bed. A little later, Little Red Riding Hood reached the house. She looked at the wolf. Granny, what big eyes you have,
All the better to see you with.
said the wolf. Granny, what big ears you have,
All the better to hear you with.
said the wolf. Granny, what a big nose you have,
All the better to smell you with.
said the wolf. Granny, what big teeth you have,
All the better to eat you with. Ha 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 ha.
shouted the wolf. A woodcutter was in the wood. He heard a loud scream and ran to the house. The woodcutter hit the wolf over the head. The wolf opened his mouth wide and shouted, and Granny jumped out. The wolf ran away, and Little Red Riding Hood never saw the wolf again. She lived happily. The mystery of the missing honey. One sunny morning in the 100-acre wood, Winnie the Pooh woke up with a rumbling tummy. He reached for his honey pot, only to find it empty.
Oh, bother!
Pooh sighed.
Where could my honey have gone?
Just then, Dora the Explorer appeared, her trusty backpack and map in hand.
Hola, Pooh! I heard you have a mystery to solve. Can I help?
Yes, please, Dora.
Pooh said.
My honey is missing and I don't know where it could be.
Dora smiled.
Let's solve this mystery together. First, we need to find some clues. Do you see any footprints or anything unusual around your house?
Pooh and Dora looked around and found a trail of sticky honey drops leading into the forest.
Look, Pooh. These honey drops might lead us to the culprit.
They followed the trail, which led them to Kanga's house. Kanga was outside, looking worried.
Oh dear, I saw someone running through the forest with a honey pot, but I was too scared to follow them,
Kanga said.
Don't worry, Kanga. We'll find out who it was. Let's keep following the trail.
The honey drops led them to Rabbit's garden, where they found Tigger bouncing around.
Hey there, Pooh and Dora. What are you two up to?
Tigger asked.
We're looking for Pooh's missing honey.
Dora explained.
Have you seen anyone suspicious?
Tigger scratched his head.
Well, I did see Eeyore carrying something shiny towards the river. Maybe he knows something.
They thanked Tigger and headed to the river, where they found Eeyore sitting by the water, looking glum.
Hello, Eeyore.
Pooh said.
Have you seen my honey?
I found a honey pot by the river this morning. I thought it was abandoned, so I brought it here. I'm sorry, Pooh.
Pooh smiled and patted Eeyore on the back.
It's okay, Eeyore. Thank you for keeping it safe.
Dora clapped her hands.
Mystery solved. We found the missing honey. Great job, everyone.
Pooh, Dora and their friends celebrated with a picnic by the river, sharing the honey and enjoying each other's company. Pooh was grateful for his friends and their help in solving the mystery. The Gruffalo. Once upon a time, in a deep, dark wood, there lived a clever little mouse. This mouse was no ordinary mouse. He was small, but he was smart and he knew how to outwit those who wanted to eat him. He would often take strolls through the forest, and whenever he met a potential predator, he would invent a story to avoid becoming their dinner. One fine day, as the mouse ventured deeper into the woods, he encountered a fox. The fox's eyes gleamed with hunger as he looked at the mouse.
Where are you going, little mouse?
The fox inquired, licking his lips. The mouse, quick on his feet, replied,
I'm going to have lunch with a Gruffalo.
A Gruffalo?
The fox exclaimed, puzzled.
What's a Gruffalo?
The mouse grinned mischievously and began to describe the Gruffalo. He painted a vivid picture of a creature with terrible tusks, sharp claws, and a poisonous wart at the end of his nose. The fox's eyes widened with fear as he imagined this monstrous creature.
Goodbye, Fox.
The mouse said cheerfully.
I'm off to have lunch with the Gruffalo.
The mouse continued on his way, feeling quite pleased with himself for outsmarting the fox. But as he ventured deeper into the forest, he encountered an owl. The owl, too, looked hungry and asked the mouse where he was going.
I'm going to have lunch with a Gruffalo.
The mouse replied confidently.
A Gruffalo?
The owl hooted, incredulous.
What's a Gruffalo?
Once again, the mouse launched into a description of the Gruffalo, making him sound even scarier than before. He spoke of the Gruffalo's knobbly knees and turned-out toes, and how his eyes were orange and his tongue was black. The owl shivered at the thought of such a fearsome creature and warned the mouse to be careful. But the mouse assured the owl that he wasn't afraid and continued on his way. As the mouse journeyed deeper into the forest, he encountered a snake. The snake, too, was eager for a meal and asked the mouse where he was going.
I'm going to have lunch with a Gruffalo.
The mouse replied confidently.
A Gruffalo?
The snake hissed skeptical.
What's a Gruffalo?
The mouse, undeterred, launched into yet another description of the Gruffalo, making him seem even more terrifying. He spoke of the Gruffalo's poisonous spines and his knobbly knees, and how he could turn any creature into stone with just one look. The snake recoiled in fear and warned the mouse to stay away from such a creature. But the mouse, full of bravado, assured the snake that he knew what he was doing and continued on his way. Finally, the mouse reached the heart of the deep, dark wood, and there, to his astonishment, he stumbled upon a creature that sent shivers down his spine. It was a Gruffalo, just as he had described. A creature with terrible tusks, sharp claws, and a poisonous wart at the end of his nose. The Gruffalo growled.
Who are you?
The mouse, quick as ever, replied.
Oh, Gruffalo, you see, everyone is afraid of me, for I am the scariest creature in this wood. Just take a look and you'll see.
The Gruffalo, surprised, asked the mouse to prove it. So the mouse led the Gruffalo through the forest, encountering the fox, the owl, and the snake along the way. Each time, the other animals saw the Gruffalo and fled in terror, believing that the mouse was indeed friends with this monstrous creature. Finally, the Gruffalo turned to the mouse and said,
You're the scariest creature in this wood. It's true, but even the scariest creatures get hungry, and my favorite food happens to be you.
The mouse, not one to give up easily, replied.
Oh, Gruffalo, don't you know? There's no such thing as a Gruffalo.
And with that, he told the Gruffalo how the other animals were terrified of him because he was the scariest creature and he didn't want to be eaten. The Gruffalo, believing the mouse's clever ruse, decided to let him go.
You may be small,
The Gruffalo said,
but you're very smart. Go on, little mouse, before I change my mind.
and so the mouse scampered away, leaving the Gruffalo behind in the deep, dark wood. As he made his way home, the mouse couldn't help but smile. He had outsmarted the cleverest creature in the forest, thanks to his quick wit and clever storytelling. And from that day on, the mouse continued to take strolls through the deep, dark wood, knowing that he was the smartest creature around, and that sometimes a little imagination and a good story could save the day. The Crow and the Donut. One sunny afternoon, a granny was making delicious donuts in her kitchen. The aroma of the freshly fried donuts wafted through the air, attracting a clever crow perched on a nearby tree. The crow, with its sharp eyes and keen sense of smell, spotted Granny placing hot donuts on the windowsill to cool. Seizing the opportunity, the crow swooped down and grabbed a donut in its beak before flying back to the tree. Granny noticed the crow and shouted,
Hey, you naughty crow, give me back my donut.
But the crow was too quick and had already settled on a high branch, enjoying its stolen treat. As the crow was about to take a bite, a cunning fox appeared below the tree. The fox, seeing the crow with the donut, devised a plan to get the snack for itself.
Oh, dear crow,
The fox called out,
you have such a beautiful voice. Won't you sing a song for me?
Flattered by the fox's words, the crow puffed up with pride. It opened its beak to caw, and the donut fell to the ground. The fox quickly snatched up the donut and ran away, leaving the crow feeling foolish and hungry. Granny, watching from her kitchen, couldn't help but laugh at the clever fox and the gullible crow. She decided to make another batch of donuts, this time keeping a closer eye on them. This story is a popular moral tale in Tamil culture, teaching the lesson that flattery can be deceptive and one should always be cautious of it. Spirit in the bottle. Once upon a time, in a small village at the edge of a big forest, there lived a poor woodcutter and his son, Peter. Peter was a bright and curious boy who loved exploring the forest and learning about its secrets. Although their life was hard, Peter's father always taught him the importance of kindness and bravery. One day, while helping his father chop wood, Peter wandered deeper into the woods than ever before. As he walked, Peter found an old, moss-covered bottle lying half-buried under a tree. Curious, he picked it up and saw that it was tightly sealed with a strange, very old-looking cork. Unable to resist, Peter pulled out the cork. To his surprise, a thick cloud of smoke emerged from the bottle, swirling and twisting until it formed the shape of a scary spirit. The spirit, with glowing eyes and a booming voice, stretched and yawned.
Finally, I am free.
It exclaimed.
I have been trapped in that bottle for 1,000 years, and now I can take my revenge on whoever released me.
Peter, though frightened, mustered his courage and said,
Wait, I didn't trap you. I found the bottle by accident and was just curious. Please, don't hurt me.
The spirit paused and looked at Peter.
Very well,
it said.
I will give you a chance. If you can perform a difficult task, I will spare you and grant you 3 wishes. But if you fail, I will take you away forever.
Peter agreed, hoping he could find a way to outsmart the spirit. The spirit handed Peter a small, empty jug and said,
We'll fill this jug with water from the river without spilling a single drop, and you will have your wishes.
Peter took the jug and headed to the river, deep in thought. As he reached the water's edge, he saw a clever fox watching him from the bushes. The fox approached Peter and said,
I see you need help. Maybe I can assist you in exchange for a favour?
Peter, really needing help, agreed. The fox instructed him to use a large leaf to cover the top of the jug while filling it with water. This way, no water would spill. Peter followed the fox's advice, and it worked perfectly. He returned to the spirit with the full jug. Not a single drop spilled. The spirit, surprised by Peter's success, had no choice but to keep its promise.
Very well,
it said.
You have completed the task. Now tell me your 3 wishes.
Peter thought carefully. For his first wish, he asked for his family to never be poor again. Instantly, a chest filled with gold appeared at his feet. For his second wish, he asked for great wisdom to help others and make the world a better place. The spirit granted him the ability to understand and learn anything quickly. For his third and final wish, Peter wished for the spirit to be freed from its curse and never harm anyone again. The spirit, touched by Peter's kindness, transformed into a gentle breeze and vanished into the air, free at last. Peter returned home with the chest of gold and his newfound wisdom. His father was amazed and proud of his son's bravery and cleverness. They used the gold to improve their lives and help their neighbours, ensuring that no one in the village would ever go hungry again. With his wisdom, Peter became a beloved teacher and advisor, always ready to share his knowledge and help those in need. The village prospered under his guidance, and stories of the brave boy who freed the spirit in the bottle were told for generations. But Peter did not forget his promise to the fox. One day, while walking through the forest, he met the fox again.
Thank you for your help,
Peter said.
What can I do to repay you?
The fox looked at Peter and said,
I wish for my family to have a safe and abundant home where we can live without fear and hunger.
Peter used his newfound wisdom and the gold to build a beautiful, protected area in the forest where the fox and its family could live safely. He also planted many fruit trees and set up a stream for fresh water, ensuring the fox family would always have food and drink. The fox, grateful for Peter's kindness, promised to look after the forest and keep it safe from harm. And so Peter and the fox became lifelong friends, each helping the other whenever needed. And so Peter and his family lived happily ever after, their lives filled with adventure, kindness, and the magic of the forest, always remembering that true bravery and kindness can change the world. Jack and the Beanstalk. Once upon a time there was a boy called Jack. He lived with his mother. They were very poor. All they had was a cow. One morning, Jack's mother told Jack to take their cow to market and sell her. On the way, Jack met a man. He gave Jack some magic beans for the cow. Jack took the beans and went back home. When Jack's mother saw the beans, she was very angry. She threw the beans out of the window. The next morning, Jack looked out of the window. There was a giant beanstalk. He went outside and started to climb the beanstalk. He climbed up to the sky through the clouds. Jack saw a beautiful castle. He went inside. Jack heard a voice. Jack ran into a cupboard. An enormous giant came into the room and sat down. On the table there was a hen and a golden harp.
Lay.
Said the giant. The hen laid an egg. It was made of gold.
Sing.
Said the giant. The harp began to sing. Soon the giant was asleep. Jack jumped out of the cupboard. He took the hen and the harp. Suddenly the harp sang, "Help, master!" The giant woke up and shouted. Jack ran and started climbing down the beanstalk. The giant came down after him. Jack shouted, "Mother, help! Help!" Jack's mother took an axe and chopped down the beanstalk. The giant fell and crashed to the ground. Nobody ever saw him again. With the golden eggs and the magic harp, Jack and his mother lived happily ever after. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, a girl named Goldilocks lived at the edge of the woods. In those days, when hair twisted around in curls, it used to be called locks of hair. Anyway, this girl was called Goldilocks because running down her head and shoulders were golden locks of hair. One morning, Goldilocks was out for a walk when a beautiful bird flew right in front of her. The bird darted off into the woods, and she followed it. Her mother had said many times she must never go into the woods. But Goldilocks didn't think of that. Deeper and deeper into the woods she followed that bird. But then, where did it go? It was nowhere to be seen. Goldilocks looked around and with a pang realized the truth. She was lost, but her house was not far away. I wonder who lives so deep in the woods, she thought. She knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked again. Still no answer. Goldilocks knocked a third time. This time the door opened, but no one was behind the door.
"Well, the door is already open,"
said the girl.
"Hi, I may as well go in."
Goldilocks smelled a wonderful smell. On the table were 3 steaming bowls of oatmeal. All of a sudden she felt how very hungry she was. What Goldilocks did not know is that 3 bears lived in this house. In fact, that very morning the 3 bears had sat down to their breakfast of oatmeal, but the cereal was too hot, so they decided to take a short walk. They said,
"By the time we return home, our oatmeal will be perfect."
Gazing now at the 3 steaming bowls of oatmeal, Goldilocks thought,
"I'm sure whoever lives here won't mind if I take just one sip."
She sat at the first chair, took a sip from the bowl.
"Ah, it is too hot,"
she said. She moved to the second bowl and sipped from the bowl.
"Ah, it is too cold,"
she said. She moved to the third bowl and took a sip.
"This is just right."
Before she knew it, the oatmeal was gone. Goldilocks rubbed her full tummy and stretched.
"I'd love a cozy chair,"
she thought. In the living room, 3 chairs were lined up in a row. A big chair, a medium-sized chair, and a wee little chair.
"I'm sure whoever lives here won't mind if I sit on that big chair,"
said Goldilocks. She sat on it, but it was too hard.
"That next chair looks good,"
said Goldilocks. She moved to the medium-sized chair, but it was too soft.
"That wee little chair looks even better,"
said the girl. She sat down on the little chair and it was perfect. But when Goldilocks leaned back a bit, the chair broke into a dozen pieces. She plopped down on the floor.
"Oh no!"
Goldilocks wailed. Then she yawned. Where could she lie down for a nap? The girl noticed a ladder. Up she climbed to an attic. There she found 3 beds lined up in a row. A big bed, a medium-sized bed, and a wee little bed.
"I'm sure whoever lives here won't mind if I laid down for just a short nap,"
she said. She laid down on the big bed, but it was too hard. She laid down on the medium-sized bed, but it was too soft. The girl lay down on the wee little bed, and it was just right. Before her head hit the pillow, Goldilocks was fast asleep. Just then, the 3 bears came home from their walk.
"Oh my, did either of you leave the front door open?"
said Mama Bear.
"Not I,"
said Papa Bear.
"Not I,"
said Little Bear. Slowly, the 3 bears stepped inside. Carefully, They looked around.
The most odd.
Said Papa Bear, noticing his spoon in his bowl of oatmeal.
Someone was eating my breakfast.
Most odd indeed,
said Mama Bear, also seeing a spoon in her bowl of oatmeal.
Someone was eating my breakfast.
This is the most odd of all,
said Little Bear.
Someone was eating my breakfast and they ate it all up.
The 3 bears shook their heads with wonder. With care, they stepped into their living room.
Do you think someone was sitting in my chair?
said Papa Bear.
I know someone was sitting in my chair because I can see the seat cushion is pushed down,
said Mama Bear.
I know someone was sitting in my chair too, because it broke,
said Little Bear. The 3 bears were now alarmed. Yet they must explore their entire cottage, so they climbed the ladder to their attic.
Someone has been sleeping on my bed.
Who could see that his blankets had been moved?
Someone was sleeping on my bed too,
said Mama Bear, who could also see that her blankets had been moved.
Someone was sleeping on my bed, and there she is.
Goldilocks bolted awake. 3 bears were looming over her. They did not look happy. Oh my, said Goldilocks, jumping out of bed. As quick as she could, she climbed down the ladder and ran out the front door. Little Bear chased after her. Wait, please. Goldilocks stopped. She turned around. Tell me, said Little Bear, why did you come in our cottage? Goldilocks stopped. She turned around. I didn't think, said Goldilocks. Why do you eat my breakfast? Said Little Bear. I didn't think, said Goldilocks. And why did you break my chair and sleep in my bed? Said Little Bear. I guess I didn't think about that either, said Goldilocks. They were both quiet, Goldilocks said. I could have waited outside your door. We were coming right home, said Mama Bear. We might have invited you in if we knew you were hungry. I'm sorry about the chair, said Goldilocks. It broke. We know that, said Mama Bear with a frown. I'm good at fixing things, said Goldilocks, if you have glue.
Of course we have glue. What kind of bears do you think we are?
Said Papa Bear. I promise I'll make it up to you, said Goldilocks. Come on in then, dear, said Mama Bear.
We'll start over,
said Papa Bear with a nod. Coming, said Little Bear. OK, I'm coming, said Goldilocks. With smiles, they stepped into the bear's house and started over.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more videos.